I'm a beginner. Don't ask too much of me, please. Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Mathilde. I am a French beginner knitter and today is my knitting podcast number 7. So if you're new here, this is a knitting podcast where I talk about everything that I've knit this month. If I have any finished objects, I will show you, and my current works in progress, some acquisitions at the end, and future plans. So the first finished object that I have today is my sweater number 18, which I'm wearing right now. Warning, this isn't blocked yet. This only has been steamed blocked for now because the weather hasn't been great and I didn't want it to take a week to dry. So I am going to wet block this afternoon right after filming this podcast. So if it's dry by the time I finish editing, I might pop a picture or a video of me wearing it like when it's fully blocked, because as you can see it's still a bit bunched up, but this is what it's looking like. Oh, I really love this design. This has been an impulsive cast on for sure. Like, I cast this on in January and I just didn't really, well, I did think about it. I was thinking about knitting this sweater for a month and for some reason I just wasn't ready to do that, and so it hadn't been on my winter planning list, but I just kept seeing it over and over again. For example, in Emma Robinson's podcast, like her vlogmasses, I mean. She's Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. on YouTube. I'll link it below. I love her podcast, but she wore this in a similar color, I think, but in her own yarn. She wore it a lot over on Vlogmas, and I just fell in love with it. So it was definitely an impulsive cast on, but I just think it's absolutely stunning. Look at that shoulder detail. I'm showing this for a page from Two Pearls in a Pod, because ever since she mentioned how much she loves a shoulder detail, now I'm looking at every shoulder details on every pattern, and this one I think just looks stunning. I'm hoping that with blocking it will lengthen a little bit and be a bit more, I guess a bit less boxy, because it kind of cinches in a tiny bit, just I think because it hasn't been blocked. The sleeves are of great length, I think, for me. But again, I'm hoping that with blocking it will be like this, which is my preferred way of wearing knits. And yeah, I've worn it a lot already, even though it hasn't been blocked. I know this is bad, but I just loved it so much I couldn't not wear it, and I just really wanted to, this is a thick garment, so I'm not going to be able to wear it for much longer, so I really want to make the most of it. This is knit in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Cream. I have a bit left of this Soft Silk Mohair. I haven't weighed this yet, but I think it's about 20 grams maybe, but I have none of the Heavy Merino left, and I actually played a game of Yarn Chicken that was really painful. I basically got to my second sleeve and I had to unravel my swatch to be able to have the Heavy Merino from that and use it for the sleeve. And I was thinking, if I don't have enough, I'll just unravel this bind off, which would take ages, and shorten the ribbing to match this. But actually I ended up having just about enough. I've got the yarn left from the bind off somewhere in these pockets. There it is. This is how much I had left. After weaving in the end, and as you can see, this is the bit that was from the swatch, because you can see that it's curling up a bit. I didn't bother, after unraveling my swatch, I didn't bother steaming it or anything, because it was in the ribbing, so I don't think you can tell. But yeah, so that was, and like I was knitting on this, I was hoping to finish it for a weekend away at the beginning of March, which I did. And so on the Saturday morning before we were to leave, I was like, I think it was not just because I wanted to have it for the weekend, but also because I wanted to see if I would have enough. I was thinking if I didn't have enough, I would use the double Sunday by Sandnes Garn that I've got left from my Marseille sweater, which is a similar colour. So I was like, and maybe a bit thinner, but I was thinking for the ribbing for the end, maybe that would be okay, because I didn't want to have to buy another ball of yarn for just like 2 centimeters. That would have been ridiculous. So yeah, that was painful, but it worked out in the end, and I'm really, really happy with it. I love the combination of this yarn. This is my most warm sweater yet. So I think I definitely want to make sweater like these for my next winter, because I'm quite chilly all of the time, and so, except obviously during the summer, but so for example my Monday sweater, which I finished just recently, is knit in Knitting for Olive, Merino and soft silk mohair, and it's just sometimes not warm enough for me. I am actually wearing this almost next to skin. I've got a tank top underneath, but no long sleeves, and it's not itchy at all. It's absolutely fine. I've worn it for a full day, and it wasn't bothering me at all, so I'm really pleased with that. And yeah, I'm just hoping that the length will be a tiny bit longer, just because when I sit, it kind of raises up at the back, and so it's a little bit chilly on my back. But otherwise, I'm really, really pleased with it. The pattern was really easy to follow. I didn't notice any mistake in it. It was absolutely gorgeous. I loved the design. This was really addictive to knit, because you've got different patterning, and so when you finish one, you're like, oh, but I can just continue till the next one, and so it goes by a lot quicker, I feel, than stockinette. I really like how the decreases look. I think it looks really neat. I think this is the beginning of round here underneath and you can't really, you can tell a little bit, but I think it looks gorgeous as well. Let me just take off my microphone for a second so that you can see it without, because it looks a bit weird. Yep. Yeah, I love it. So that's my only finished object of the month, and I finished it at the beginning of the month. But all of the other projects that I've got on my needles are quite, when I finished this one, the other ones were at the beginning, sort of. I would say I was about 20-30% in on both of them, and so I think if I would, like the Alder sweater, I could have made good progress on, but I wouldn't have finished anyway, because it takes a bit of time since it's a mosaic knitting pattern. I'll show you it in a moment. And then the Storm sweater, I think I had only done the back panel, so again, it would have meant a lot of focus on just this knit to be able to finish it for today. So what I've got next are two whips that you've seen, the ones that I've just mentioned, the Alder sweater and the Storm sweater, and then I've got two new cast-ons which I'm really excited about as well. So let's start with the Alder sweater, because there's a bit of a story to tell. This is the Alder sweater by Rebecca Clow. This is an all-over mosaic knitting pattern with two different colors of yarn. Mosaic knitting is a type of colorwork knitting, but it's when you don't have to hold the two yarns together. So you do two, for this particular one, you do 2 rounds with one color and then 2 rounds with another color. And basically what you do is that sometimes you have to slip stitches, and that's what makes this gorgeous patterning. Look at that raglan detail. Isn't that stunning? Yeah. So this has been on my needles since the 10th of February, so a bit less than 2 months, and I've only just split for sleeves. Obviously, as you can tell, this hasn't been my focused knit. This hasn't been my number one priority knit, but also I've had to frog a little bit, and that took a while. So what happened was that I'm knitting size 3 for this. So my bust circumference is 90 centimeters, so I usually do size S or size M depending on the designer. But this is my swatch, and as you can tell probably from the other swatches here on the board, this isn't 10 centimeter from the top to the bottom, so my row gauge is off. I think it's off by about 1 to 2 centimeters, which is a lot. So when I reached the point where I was to stop the raglan increases for my size, I didn't really know what to do. This is the first time that I've had to modify a pattern for myself based on row gauge, or like based on a row gauge that is smaller than the recommended row gauge. I've had issues with my row gauge being longer, but usually in those patterns the designer mentioned like knit until X amount of centimeters, so I could just decide what to do based on centimeters. But I've never had an issue with a raglan sweater with row gauge. Obviously this has nothing to do with the designer, this is me making a mistake, but I know that you can easily just add raglan increases and it will be fine, but I didn't know if I was supposed to add raglan increases or just because for my size you also have round or like 4 or like 1 pattern repeat, so 4 rounds without the raglan increases for the body before splitting for sleeves. So I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, so I just said maybe I can just block this really well to stretch a little bit and fit me better even though my row gauge is off. But when I split for sleeves and I did 1 to 2 rounds after that and I tried it on, I could put it on, but it was really, really tight under my arms. So but by that point I still didn't know if I was supposed to unravel back and then add the raglan or just the body increase or the body rounds. I'm a beginner. Don't ask too much of me, please. So I ended up asking a friend. She wasn't sure either because obviously she wasn't in the room with me, so it's a little bit difficult to explain. Also, English isn't my first language, as you can probably tell, or as you know, because I'm French. So explaining something that's kind of complex, it's not complex, but yeah, it was difficult to explain orally to someone when I've just encountered the problem and I was in a little bit of a panic. So she told me that I could just either do the raglan increases if I thought I wouldn't have enough space for my arms or for my boobs, or I could just do the body increases if the problem was just here, like the length here. So I was still a little bit unsure, so I asked Marianne from By Aimée, which I will link also below. She has a knitting podcast which is really, really great, and she has knit the Alder sweater recently. So I went back to her podcast where she talked about the sweater, but I couldn't find a spot where she had talked about the row gauge, if it was off for her or if it was right. She didn't really mention that, so I assumed that it was fine. So instead what I did was I sent her a message on Instagram, and she was absolutely lovely, and she really explained it well to me, what I could and couldn't do depending on what result I wanted. So thank you for Marianne if you're watching. That was just amazing. And so I ended up going back. I didn't want to unravel and have the live stitches like that because of the patterning. I wasn't sure I could pick up the stitches easily. I wanted to put a lifeline in, but it was really difficult again because of the patterning. So I ended up having to go back over every single stitch for about, I think, 6 rounds, which took a while, especially when you're at the end of a raglan and you've got the sleeve stitches and the body stitches, and it's a lot. So I went back and I added, let me get my notebook to check. I've added, I think, 3 full pattern repeats with the raglan increases, and then I did I continued to follow the pattern and did the 4 rounds without the raglan increases before splitting for sleeves. And this is what we've got, and I think I'm not going to put it on because I don't think my cable is long enough, and honestly I did that last night before splitting for sleeves, and I lost stitches a couple of times, and it was just, yeah. If I have the courage to do it before I finish editing the video, I will include a footage of me wearing it. I'm not too hopeful about that. We'll see. But yeah, this is what it's looking like, and I think we're good. Obviously this is a raglan sweater that doesn't have a lot of positive ease. She recommends between 2 to 10 centimeters of positive ease, which isn't much. So again, this is my first time knitting a sweater with less positive ease than I usually do, so I'm a bit also like not worried, but I'm just a bit unsure of what that means in terms of when I try it on, is it going to be okay or not. And also I think like my swatch grew a bit with washing, so I know that this is going to stretch a little bit, so hopefully I've added enough, and I won't have to go back. What I might do is add a few more, like I've not done any, I've literally just split for sleeves this morning, so I've not done any, I've done just 1 round, not even 1 round, I haven't done any rounds for the body, so I'm gonna wait until I've done that. Then I think I'm gonna do the neck collar, which I think is a double folded or like a folded collar like this. Hopefully it is, because that's a look I really like. And then I'm gonna try it on and we'll see. But I'm really excited about this. This is gorgeous. I love it even more on camera. The yarn that I'm using for this is Pénélope from the Rerum Natura in the colorway Brume. No, Orgeat and Brume. This is a DK weight yarn, which is 90% Merino wool and 10% silk. The Merino wool is from Alder, so it's like a lovely wool. And yeah, it's 133 meters for 50 grams skeins. So I've got 6 of the blue because this is my main color, and 5 of the white. And so the neckband and the ribbing will be in the blue as well. I'm hoping that because my row gauge is off, that doesn't mean that the amount of yarn isn't enough. We'll see. I think because this isn't hand dyed, this is a commercial yarn, so maybe if I purchase more, even though it's been a while since I've bought this, the dye lot won't matter too much, hopefully. We'll see. Because I don't want this to be too short on the sleeves or even on the body, so I don't really want to have to choose between making the sleeves shorter or the body shorter. What I might actually do is, once I finish the collar, I might do one sleeve to see how much yarn I use, and then I might do either the second sleeve right away or the body. I'm not sure. We'll see. So yeah, that is my Alder sweater, which I'm really pleased with, but obviously this is a slow going process, especially when you have to go back a couple of rounds, and that's fine. The next pattern that I have to show you is my storm sweater by Petite. And this is how much progress I've made. Ignore the little end that I've woven in, but I've just not cut it too close yet. Yeah. So this is a drop shoulder, all over textured pattern by Petite, which has been released late last fall, I think. Which is just absolutely stunning. It's really oversized. This is even bigger than my sweater number 18. I think it's about 20 centimeters of positives maybe. The yarn that I'm using for this is Pure Gynt by Sandnes Garn in this Petite Knit colorway, which is Almond, I think. Is it Almond? I think so. It's the colorway 2511, but I'll put it on the screen as always. So I've got quite a few of those. Well, actually, that's not even all of them. Even here, that's not all of them. I think it's about 15 skeins total. And yeah, as you can see, I had finished the back last time, I think, and I picked up for the front, left front, for the right front, knit, joined them, and then now have split for sleeves, and I've done about, I don't know, maybe 3 centimeters of the body. This was really great when I had that struggle with the Alder sweater and I didn't really have any easygoing mindless knit. This isn't as mindless as stockinette, obviously, because you do have that texture that you've got to be mindful of, but just following the charts. And I've got a trick. Well, it's not really a trick, but what I do in order not to miss anything is that in my notebook I write down for each sweater, so storm sweater here, I write down each amount of repeats that I've got to do. And then I divide, for example, each patterns by 2 slashes, and so I know when I'm supposed to switch patterns. And for the chart, I've got the chart next to me because sometimes you have to do different things on different rounds, even though it's the same kind of pattern. But it just means that on the chart, for example, you've got like 5 rounds of one pattern, and then right next to it says repeat this 3 times. If I were to do that without this, I would forget like how many rounds I'm on, whereas with this I just write down the number of the round, for example 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I do that 3 times, and so I know where I'm at. Which is probably ridiculous, but I've got a fickle mind, I think it's what it's called. I'm very forgetful, and it just means that it's a little bit more mindless because I don't have to check my knitting all of the time. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Again, I'm not gonna put it on. I think the cable is okay, but it's just because I got my mic and I got makeup on, and I don't really want to smear makeup on this sweater or even this one. I think what I'm gonna do is, once I've finished this skein of yarn, or this ball, I'm going to do the color. I like to do that quite soon after I've joined in the round for the body, because I think it just helps me see what I'm doing more, or like see the finished product more easily. Does that make sense? Yeah. This is the first time I've used spitz splicing. I've tried using it before, but I didn't mention for the yarn exactly what the yardage and everything was. This is 100% Norwegian wool, and it is, and it's not written. Oh yeah, it's 50 grams for about 91 meters. So it's a DK weight yarn, which is quite rustic. It feels kind of stiff, so I'm hoping it won't be too itchy compared to, for example, this, which I don't find itchy at all. But I think it will be fine. And I'm not I'm not too sure about the color on me. I think this is a better color than this, so I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have that much more progress on this, because I've not been that excited to knit on it, because I'm not sure of the end result. I'm not sure of the amount of oversizedness that this is. I'm not sure how it will look on me, but I'm still very excited to try and see if that fits. But yeah, I've just not been obsessed with knitting on this. I was talking about something else just before, but I've just forgotten. Oh yes, spitz splicing. So I didn't want to try it before. I think it was with this sweater that I tried because someone recommended it to me for the heavy merino. I just couldn't figure it out. It just wasn't working, so I just abandoned that idea. But with this, I just really got the hang of it. So I think what I didn't really know before, and I was too lazy to watch videos about it, was that you're supposed to splice, I guess, the ends. Actually, I can show you with this one. So basically, you're supposed to do this with your yarn and do the same thing for the other skein or other ball that you're gonna join. And then when you either spit on it or like use your spit or use water, I've tried both to see, you just put the two together and then you just roll them. I just usually roll them together like this, and then I use my hands and create friction, and then it's really, really sturdy. So I've probably made a mess of explaining that, but hopefully you've understood, and if not, do watch videos on it, because for yarns like this it's really useful not to have to weave in everything or weave in all of the ends. Yeah, this has been on my needles since the 23rd of February, so a tiny bit more than a month. Also, I hope this isn't too annoying. I've got a window right here, and obviously there's a little bit, well, there's absolutely no sun, but it's a little bit bright, but I'm not sure what to do about that for you, so I'm sorry. The next whip that I've got for you is a tea, and it is my first tea of the season. It's one from my spring knitting plans, so if you want to watch that, I will link it up here somewhere. I was really excited to cast this on, especially to use the yarn, so I'll show you the yarn first, actually. So this is Caresse Fingering by l'Atelier Teinture, who is a French hand dyer. I purchased 2 skeins from her at a yarn festival last October in Lille, and this is this really gorgeous 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere blend in the colorway Nuit. I've got about I've got about 800 meters total, so you've got 400 meters per skein for 100 grams. And I really wanted to use this yarn for the Lunati by Caresse, which I've mentioned before, but when I knit up the swatch, it wasn't looking how I wanted it to. It was looking a bit too gapey and everything, so because I usually have to go up a needle size, and so going up in the needle size for a 2x2 broken rib pattern, it just, maybe if I had finished the swatch and blocked it, it would have been fine, but as I was knitting it up, I just didn't like the look of it. So I ended up swatching for the Moonset Tee by Ozetta, which is still a little bit see-through, but for a stockinette tee I didn't mind as much. And also this is, because this is a dark color, I feel like it doesn't, like you can see here because I'm holding it like this, but if I have like my body behind it, you don't see it as much, I don't think. So I've cast this on. I don't have that much progress to show you, but still a little bit, but it won't look like much. I've got the back panel finished, so this is curling up a little bit, but this is it. And then this is the left front panel with the beginning of the collar, which is like kind of like this, which you probably seen from the picture. So maybe I can put this on for you if you wish. Ignore the yarn that's holding my provisional cast on, but this is basically what it's going to look like. Hopefully looking a little bit better. Something like this. Ooh, this is my first time doing this. I love it. I'm really excited about this. I love the look of the yarn. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little bit mild. No, you probably can't tell. Like there's a little bit of white in there as well, like here. I think it just looks really, really good, and I'm really happy with this color, which I just love the construction of this. If I didn't mention, this is a pattern by Ozetta. It's a fairly simple stockinette drop shoulder, I guess, pattern with a really lovely color detail with I-cord edges and I-cord edges on the sleeves and the body. And yeah, I really love the construction of this. This is really interesting. This is my first time doing a color like this, so you knit the color as you go, but obviously you've got that, you start it first with a provisional cast on, you knit X amount of rounds of 1x1 rib with the I-cord edge, and then you have to join it to the front panel and continue knitting on it as you go. This was maybe a little bit tricky to understand at first in the pattern, but she has a video tutorial which shows you how to do that, and then yeah, it shows you how to start this and then how to connect it here. So 2 different video tutorials, and she's got the same one for the right front panel, which I haven't started yet. I'm almost done with the left front, I think. If I was to follow the pattern, I would have, I think, 3 or 4 more pattern repeats. It's not really a pattern, but like, I don't know. You've got to do something 4 times, and I've got to do that about 4 times, I think, total. But my gauge, here's the thing, my gauge, my row gauge is longer than hers. So I've got more centimeters per row than she does. But the great thing about her design is that, or her patterns, is that she mentions centimeters as well as inches, as well as row amounts. So I can just say, oh, I've reached that amount of centimeters, so I can just move on now. So it does mean that I have to check up my knit a bit more, but it's fine. And I did almost confuse the centimeters for the inches. So in the pattern she talks about inches first and then the centimeters, and I'm like, in most of the patterns I've used so far they mention centimeters first, so I was just like, oh, that's 3 centimeters, and I was like, that's a bit short for the front panel, like 3 centimeters, okay. And so I reached 3 centimeters, and then I was like, okay, let me just double check. And then I reread the line, and I saw 3 inches 7 centimeters, and I was like, oh well, it's a good thing I checked, because that would have been a lot different. So anyway, yeah, that's my moonset tee. This is a fingering weight design. I am using 3.5mm needles instead of the 3mm recommended, so this is US 4, and I'm loving it. It just takes a while, and it hasn't been my any of the knits that I've shown you, or any of the rocks in progress currently, are not my priority. I don't have a priority, which I should, but I just can't figure out which one I want more. I think my cat is waking up anyway. So yeah, I started this on the 4th of March, so it's been on my needles for about a month, and I've not made that much progress, but that's fine. And I think the reason for that is my next cast on, which I'm really excited to show you. As you probably know, if you are on Instagram, Isager, I've released a pattern collection with a couple of different, well, I think like 6 or maybe even 8 Danish, I think, designers, which is called the Archives collection. There were a lot of absolutely beautiful designs. The sun. Maybe that's a little bit better. Every design, well, not every design I was obsessed with, but there were a lot of pretty designs. There was the Inge sweater by Lenit, or Lene Halmer-Semse, hope I'm saying that right. There was the Esther jacket by Petite, which I loved the pattern, or like the motif, but I didn't love the round neck color from, but I love this Esther sweater. I love that one. I would like to make that one, but I'm trying to focus on other designers. It's still on my mind, but like maybe next year. Anyways, and there was also the, well, there were a lot of them, but the one I most fell in love with was the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I think my favourite things knitwear is becoming my Petite knit. I'm knitting a lot of her patterns, but I don't want to, but I love them. I'm sorry. Anyways, so this is the Norma sweater and this is my swatch for it. I really wanted to knit a colorwork design, not a mosaic knitting like a Fair Isle, I think. Is this Fair Isle? I think it is. So you have at least a couple of rounds where you hold 2 strands together. I really wanted to knit on something like that before I dive into the porcelain sweater later in the year, hopefully, because that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So this is a little bit more less scary for me. And yeah, I really struggled to choose the third color. I knew I wanted this beige white as the main color, and then I really wanted the chocolate as the second color, but for the third color I was deciding between a red, which is what I ended up with, or a more muted beige brown colors that would have made this a bit more versatile. But yeah, I really wanted that pop of color, and I don't think I would make a full red garment for myself. Maybe it would look good on me, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's necessarily my style. I've been really, like, I know this, like, red is one of the colors of the moment, so I've been seeing it everywhere, and obviously it's making me want to try, but it's not in my future right now. I don't want to just hop on the trend and hope for the best. I will wait until that fades a little bit and see if I'm still thinking about it. Maybe I will make it, but yeah. So this was my way of trying to include red in my knitting. And so let me show you the yarn first, maybe. So there's a lot of them. Okay, so I am using the recommended yarn for this. I did think about maybe choosing a different, so basically for this sweater you use Isager Tweed, Isager Silk Mohair and Isager Tvinni. I ended up choosing yarns from these, but I did consider swapping out the Isager Tweed by something else, but I wasn't really sure what I could swap that out with. So I was like, I've knit with Isager Iron Tweed before. I know it's a bit rustic, but now that I know, maybe it will be better. But actually this is a little bit softer than that, because it's 70% wool and 30% mohair, so it's a bit less rustic, I find. This is 200 meters for 50 grams hanks, and I've chosen as my main color the colorway Raw White, which I'm holding with Isager Silk Mohair in this like kind of blush pinkish beige, which is the colorway 6, and this is 75% kid mohair and 25% silk. This is a combination which I really love. I like that they are quite different, but the marling that it gives is, I think, personally really stunning. The silk mohair, so this is my first time using Isager silk mohair. It's pricey, but it's about the same price as other silk mohairs around, the one that I've used before, so Sandnes Garn silk mohair or Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair are about the same price. Maybe like there's maybe a 10 what do you call that, like maybe one is 9.40 euros and the other one is like 9.30 euros, something like that. not a whole lot of difference, so I really wanted to try this. And at first I was like, this feels the same as Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, which I do find really soft. So I was like, you know, nothing special. But actually, when I knit this up, I think this is softer than Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair. And this is using a kind of a bit more rustic, not as soft main yarn. So maybe holding this with a merino, 100% extra fine merino, might be even softer, which I would like to try. But anyway, those are my main colors. And then the second colorway is the Isager Tweed in the chocolate, which I've got one skein of, so obviously it's already in a cake. And then I'm holding this with Isager Silk Mohair, but in the colorway 60, I think. But I'll put everything on the screen. So this is a bit more warm toned and this is a bit more cool tone, but I think again they look good together. And then finally, the red is Isager Tvinni in the colorway 33S. I'm hoping this is like, does this give you the correct color? Maybe holding this, oh, that looks so good. Anyway, okay. So I've cast it on and I'm absolutely in love with it. Let me get the yarn away from here. Make this a little bit easier on myself. This is on a bit small needles, so hopefully you won't mind. And this is how much progress I've got so far, which is a lot. Which I don't know if you can tell, but this is another pattern colorwork repeat. So this is a high mock neck raglan sweater, oversized. Oh geez. I've not woven in any ends yet, so I've got so many ends to weave in for the colorwork. And I'm assuming that it's not that much compared to other colorwork sweaters. So that's a bit scary. I'll mention like how I feel about the colorwork a bit later, but I just want to try and show you a little bit better. You've got short row shaping for the back, so this is the front. And here is the short rows, which you can tell that this is way smaller here. And then the raglan designs. I think this looks absolutely stunning. And I think that this high mock neck is going to be a little bit scratchy for sure. But we'll see when I actually wear it, because I've not tried this on yet, so I don't think I'm gonna do that because, again, I think my cable is too small here. But I think I'll pop in a footage of me trying it on later on in the week to show you here anyway. But yeah, oh yeah, so this is my first time using a tubular cast on, which I really enjoyed doing. It is a little bit more fiddly than a long tail cast on, but I think the result is absolutely perfect. And I've used that trick of doing a short row turn in order to use the ribbing that was inside. So when I knit in around, this was the side, like the right side, but because this, as you can see, isn't as neat, I did a short row turn right before I wanted to start the raglan, like the short rows, and I think it looks a little bit neater. So what you do is you turn your work, you do a double stitch, which if you've never done short rows before, I would recommend watching a proper video about it, because I'm not, without showing you explicitly what I'm doing, it's a little bit harder to understand. But yeah, so I did the double stitch, and then on the next round what do you call that? I just knit the double stitch as one stitch, and yeah, I think it looks really, really neat. And I love it. I don't know that I will do the same for the cuffs and the body ribbing, we'll see. But I thought that for the colour, which is obviously, you see it more, it's a lot more obvious, I wanted to do it. As for the colorwork, so this is my first time doing a colorwork knitting. This is my first time holding two colours together on the same round, and I would say that it definitely takes me a while to do because I don't hold my yarn. I don't knit continental, or even I knit English style, but I don't hold my yarn with a finger. I just like, let me show you, maybe on this actually. That would be easier to understand. So I've got my knitting here, and as you can tell, I'm not holding any yarns, and I just tick, and then I just catch it, which, and then I just flick. Does that make sense? So that means that when I've got two different colors, I've got to drop one color, do the stitch, drop one color, reach for the other one, do the color. So it takes a bit of a while, but it's fine, and I think it looks okay. I think I've managed it okay, and I think maybe it's a little bit uneven, but hopefully with blocking that will be okay. But there was one issue with the second stripe. This is difficult to show you. Here I ended up having the wrong number of stitches for the sleeves, I think, or one front, or the front and one sleeve. I don't know what I did. I must have done an increase more or something, or forgotten one increase on one round. So what I ended up doing, instead of having to go back, because I couldn't really figure out what I had done wrong, I feel like it's a bit harder to know how to go back and fix it. So I ended up, I had two more stitches, or one more stitch for one for the front. So when I reached here, that on the round where I was doing the two colors, I had one more stitch than I should have before that raglan increase. And so if I were to continue as is, I would have two white stitches instead of one white, one red. So what I ended up doing was do a knit two together, I think, a right leaning decrease with the red color, and then I did the increase with the white, and then that meant that I had the correct colors for the raglan. And I did the same thing for this one. So I'm not sure what happened, but I think it looks fine. Obviously you can't really tell because I've not done any stockinette in the white yet. But hopefully that works out and you don't see it. But yeah, so I'm hoping to split for sleeves quite soon. I've got about, I would say 10 rounds before I split for sleeves. And then, yeah, this is going by so fast because I am using 5.5mm needles instead of the 5mm needles recommended. So that is US 9 needles. And so obviously this is flying by because I've cast this on the 17th of March. So that was about 2 weeks ago. And I've almost finished the raglan yoke. I think this is actually going to become sort of my priority just because I want to be able to wear it a little bit before the summer, because this is a wool and mohair jumper, so obviously it's going to be a bit warmer. But because of the color work, I can't really knit on it during the night. Like if I've got just the stockinette white, that's fine, I can knit on it in the evenings. But if I've got the color work to do, I prefer to do it when I'm focused on the weekends, when I've got like four hours ahead of me without any distractions, and I can just focus on it and it's fine. So I am not even knitting on it like during the whole week. So it might still take me a while, we'll see. And yeah, I'm filming a process vlog for this, so hopefully it will be a nice vlog. But so far I'm really liking the footage that I've got from it, so yeah. So that's my last whip, which is a lot. I'm starting to get a little bit overwhelmed with how many knits I've got, especially since they're all kind of at the same point. Like I've got 2 where I'm on the body. I've got 1 where I'm almost at that point as well, which means first of all I'm kind of almost out of long cables, as you can tell. I'm almost out of barber cords to hold the stitches for the raglan, for example. So for my Alder sweater I've got some. For my Norma sweater, I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna have some. I think I do, but we'll see. And yeah, and then I've got some UFOs that are still on the back of my mind, one of which I would like to pick up and finish quite soon, but I've got to fix the color that is my Friday sleepover, which is also by Petite, which I've knit up until like maybe here, like under the sleeves, but my collar is a bit too tight, so I can't put it on, and I wanted to try it to see if it's a bit tight anyways. So I've not fixed that yet, but I think that would be a nice knit to have for the spring, so I've got to do that. So yeah, I've got a lot on my mind and it's a little bit of a mess. But yeah, one of the only acquisitions that I've got to show you today was the yarn for my Norma sweater, which I've already shown you. But the next one is actually very special, and that is La Bien-Aimée. I went to the pop-up store that is in Paris for around 2 weeks. I think by the time this video goes out it will be over, but I think she's having another one in the winter times, like from the 27th of November till the 7th of December, I think. So if you're in Paris around that time, check it out. It was absolutely lovely. It was a tiny store. I'll put in some footage from me going over there, but yeah, it was in a lovely part of Paris, right next to the Louvre and the Opera, which is lovely. It was a bit rainy when I went, so it's not a lovely sunny day, but it was still really great. I didn't have a lot of time to pop in because I was going to a family gathering to celebrate some birthdays, but I still managed to buy something. I didn't really want to buy anything. I went there more to see, to touch the yarns, and to see what other bases they had available here compared to, for example, when I went to Little Weasel a couple of weeks ago, which again I filmed that, so I'll pop it over there. I didn't really feel like buying any yarn from La Bien-Aimée because they only had, I think, mostly superwash merinos from her, and so I wasn't really wanting to spend that much on superwash merino. And the colorways that they had there weren't really the ones that I like, but as you can tell, I bought some here. So the first one that I bought was this, holding it upside down, which I have got 3 of. Sorry for the wrinkling. So I've got 3 of those. Oh, this is stunning. This is her Kumo base, which is 74% baby suri and 26% mulberry silk in the colorway Lichen, I'm not sure, but I'll put it on the screen, which is this really pretty minty green colorway, which I think is just perfect for spring. This is 300 meters or 328 yards per 50 gram skeins, and I am hoping to make, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I was thinking of a very airy, lightweight top, long sleeves, hopefully, if I have enough. Something like the blouse number 1 light by My Favorite Things Knitwear, or there's another one, I don't remember the name, but by Mohair Knit, which is similar. I'm not 100% sure about those patterns because I don't know that I love, like that I'm in love with the design. My preferred pattern choice for this would be the Jew Sweater Light by November Knit, which I've fallen in love with, but it's not out yet, so I'm not sure the amount of yards or meterage that I would need for that, because I think she holds a silk mohair double for that. So I've only got 900 meters, which isn't that much, and it's a raglan long sleeved with bell sleeved top or pullover, but very airy. She does have the Jew Sweater out right now, which is a bit thicker, but yeah, I would like a lighter. So we'll see. What I might end up doing is, when the Jew Sweater Light comes out, and depending on the meterage, I might, if I'm like absolutely in love with it still, I might purchase more in order to make it. But that would make a very expensive jumper. This was really expensive. I'm not entirely sure what the amount was, because when I calculate the amount from the website to the full amount that I had from this and the next one that I'll show you, it doesn't really add up, I don't think. So I think it was maybe 31 euros per skein, which is a lot, but this is really soft and I was absolutely obsessed with it. And I just wanted to treat myself, so why not? And then finally, my last purchase, which was also a lot, was her Alix base in the Heliodore colorway. Heliodore. This is 70% Falkland Merino and 30% Surrey alpaca. This is a lace weight base, and it is 650 meters or 70-10 yards per 100 skeins, 100 gram skeins, sorry. And yeah, it's this really beautiful cream beige with lots of green speckles and pinks, which I think, again, gorgeous colorway for spring. So I've got about 1,200, 1,300 meters total. So I'm thinking about holding this either with a mohair, but that would make it a fingering weight. So I'm not sure I want to make something in the fingering weight. So I can either do that or hold it with a merino to make a cardigan. I think I want to make a cardigan with this. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have a pattern for it in mind yet. I haven't found anything that fits the bill of what I would like. But yeah, I think this is absolutely stunning. This is very, very soft. This is, yeah, I love it. I couldn't pass that. And also it's called Alix, which is one of my sister's names. So had to buy it. When I showed this to my aunt on Saturday, after I bought this, I told her, like, this is called Alix, that's kind of why I bought it. She was like, I'm not sure she would like the animal that's above her name. But yeah, it's cute. So anyways, that's my haul from La Bien-Aimée. Which, isn't this just a gorgeous colours for spring? So yeah, after I bought this, I decided that I wasn't going to buy any more yarn. The next yarn acquisitions that you'll see will either be only yarn purchase to hold with these, or like to complete what I've already got in my stash. So for example, I've got a fingering weight sweater quantity that I would like to hold mohair with, but I don't have that mohair with in my stash, so if I buy the mohair, that counts. Or you might see a pre-order that I purchased, like a Olivia and Oliver Fibers pre-order purchase that I made, but that was back in February, so I wouldn't have purchased it now. But those are the only yarn acquisitions that you should see on my channel from now on, until I've finished a few of my knits. I think I've decided until I finish 3 of them, I can't buy anymore. Except maybe also yarns for a project for a friend, but that's a gift, so that doesn't count either. But yeah, I've got too much in my stash, and I don't want to overconsume anything. So yeah, that's a wrap up. That is a lot, and I've been talking for more than an hour, so I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna make some lunch, and I'm gonna have a full afternoon of knitting. Today is the Easter bank holiday. Here in France we only have the Monday off, which is still great. So I've been knitting on my Norma sweater mostly, and my Alder sweater, and I think I'm gonna attempt to maybe split for sleeves this afternoon, but probably won't reach that point. We shall see. But yeah, if you want to follow me over on Instagram or TikTok, I try to post a lot there, so if you want updates on any of my knits in the meantime, be sure to check them out. I will pop footage here from there, and I will see you next time for a yarn organization video, which I've already filmed, so you won't actually even see the La Bien-Aimée yarn, but you'll see everything else I've got in my stash. And then I think there might be another video before my next knitting podcast, so be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for any comments that you may leave, or the thumbs ups that you leave. It means a lot, even if it's not, you know, as much as any other knitting podcasters here on YouTube. There are a lot of them now, and I'm just a small Parisian girl. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!